With the 2026 NFL Draft kicking off tomorrow, today serves as the perfect time for me to show you guys my 7-round Buffalo Bills mock draft. But first, let's talk about some positions you can certainly expect the Buffalo Bills to address on draft day. You have linebacker, you have defensive tackle, you have cornerback, and wide receiver. Now for defensive tackle, cornerback, and wide receiver, they might even double down. They've done a ton of homework on these three positions, so it wouldn't really shock me if they even double down on all three positions throughout the draft. But if one of the two players we're going to talk about for this first round pick are available at 26, I think Buffalo just select the player. I don't really know if they can find a partner to move back, and even if they do, I don't know if the deal is 100% worth it. Now, obviously, you can expect Buffalo to make a trade or two on day 3, but I'm just going to select as if they don't make a trade just to make things easy. And starting things off in round 1 at pick 26, the Buffalo Bills select a wide receiver. Now, there are two receivers I absolutely love at that 26 spot. I hope Buffalo can come away with either one of them. The first one, Denzel Boston out of Washington. It's a little funny considering the Buffalo Sabres are facing the Boston Bruins right now, but all jokes aside, I think it would be a great fit for Buffalo, a physical alpha wide receiver on the boundary. He's a pretty polished prospect, he's a good separator, and he's pretty good with the ball in his hands. The Bills met with Boston back at the Combine and brought him in for a private workout. In the second receiver, I would absolutely love to be selected as a Buffalo Bill at pick 26, Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M, also going by Kevin Concepcion. The Bills met with him back at the Combine and also brought him in on a top 30 visit. He actually grew up a big Bills fan thanks to his dad who grew up in Rochester, New York and played football for the University of Buffalo. Concepcion is an extremely twitchy and athletic wide receiver, a great separator, extremely versatile, and offers a lot as a returner as well, which is very intriguing considering the new return rules. And like I said, I'd be extremely happy with either one of these wide receivers being named as a Buffalo Bill at pick 26. I don't know if Buffalo is going to be able to pass up on one of these guys and just trade back. It doesn't make that much sense, especially when you remember that Keon Coleman wasn't taken in the first round, meaning that since he's entering his third year, he only has one more year after that under contract. Nonetheless, if they choose to add a wide receiver in the first round, they would join a great wide receiver room. They added DJ Moore in free agency through trade. They have Keon Coleman entering his third year, Khalil Shakir, who hopefully will be healthy, Josh Palmer, hopefully healthy. And then at tight end, you have Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, a very good duo. And with the Bills staying put in the first round, I think it makes sense they stay put in the third round as well. They don't want to give up any of those day 3 picks just to move up a couple spots. And at pick 91 in that third round, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Dominique Orange, the defensive tackle out of Iowa State. The Bills brought the big run stopper in on a top 30 visit. It makes a lot of sense considering their lackluster run defense last year. He would then join Deon Walker, the other one technique, as the two big run stoppers up front, and then you have Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders as more of the pass rush specialist at 3 technique. And moving on to day 3, in the fourth round at pick 126, the Buffalo Bills select Julian Neal, the cornerback out of Arkansas. Buffalo brought in the Tracy corner for a top 30 visit. He would then join a cornerback room that lacks a lot of depth, with really just Christian Bedford and Maxwell Hairston, your two starters. And in the fifth round at pick 165, the Buffalo Bills select defensive tackle Grayson Halton out of Oklahoma. They brought him in for a top 30 visit and met with him on Zoom. And like I said earlier, it wouldn't surprise me if the Buffalo Bills doubled down at the defensive tackle position. They did a lot of homework, specifically on 2 different archetypes: the nose tackle, the big guy that can take up a lot of blocks in the middle, and the 3 technique, more of that pass rush specialist. Halton would serve as that 3 technique or pass rush specialist behind Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders. And staying in the 5th round, just 3 picks later, the Buffalo Bills select Caleb Elarms-Orr, the linebacker out of TCU. They brought him in for a top 30 visit. Buffalo added an extremely athletic player to a linebacker room that was already lacking a lot of depth, with really just Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, and Joe Andreessen. And with their second last pick in the draft, round 6, pick 182, I think the Buffalo Bills double down at wide receiver. Now, there are 2 players that I'd be really happy with at this spot. Now, in my opinion, it all really depends on the type of wide receiver the Buffalo Bills selected earlier in the draft. If they choose to go with Denzel Boston, then I think Malik Benson is your guy at this pick. A really fast wide receiver with a lot of potential. I always think back to how the Bills tried to use Brandon Cooks last year, a smaller wide receiver that could really stretch the field. And after all, the Bills did attend his pro day and have him in for a private workout. Now, if the Bills choose to go another way and take Casey Concepcion, I think Jeff Caldwell is the best guy at this pick. The Cincinnati wide receiver is an elite athlete, flies down the field, and has a massive frame, a huge catch radius. The Bills met with him back at the Combine and talked to him on Zoom. Now, no matter what, you're leaving the draft with a big alpha X wide receiver, as well as a small, twitchy, quicker wide receiver that could play inside and outside. And to wrap up the 2026 NFL draft with their last pick in the 7th round at pick 220, the Buffalo Bills select cornerback Andre Fuller out of Toledo. They brought him in for a top 30 visit, and with Dorian Strong's career really up in the air right now, I think bringing in another corner through the draft is a great addition. And to really wrap things up and put things into perspective, I also want to talk about some signings the Buffalo Bills will make after the draft. Firstly, punter Jack Stonehouse out of Syracuse. Now, he is from Syracuse, so it's already close by. They met with him at the Combine, and adding another punter to compete with Mitch Wishnowsky makes a lot of sense. They've looked at 2 punters, Ryan Eckley out of Michigan State and Jack Stonehouse. I like Stonehouse personally. And I also think we see the return of a few familiar faces after the draft. I think they'll bring back Shaq Thompson to beef up that linebacker room, serve as a starter alongside Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams. Especially with Terrell Bernard's lack of durability, it would make a lot of sense to bring Shaq Thompson back after such a great season. And then I also think they bring back Tre'Davious White, add some veteran experience to the corner position. You don't want to have Julian Neal as your primary backup behind Christian Benford and Maxwell Hairston. And then lastly, since they didn't address the edge position throughout the draft, I think AJ Epineza could be on his way back to Buffalo. He did fail his medical in Cleveland, causing the deal to fall through. Maybe he comes back to Buffalo on a cheaper price. And for those of you wondering about the financials of each of these contracts, I wouldn't sign any of these guys if it wasn't for under $3 million each. And I think that's also very realistic as well. And I think that's a very reasonable price considering the fact that they brought in DeMar Hamlin, Geno Stone, Trent Sherfield, Austin Corbett, Lloyd Cushenberry, all for less than $2 million each. And with these 7 selections, as well as the signings made after the draft, Buffalo leave no glaring needs on the field. No positions that are really lacking. You add a few weapons in your receivers, and you really shore up your lack of depth. And some of you might say it's necessary to go after offensive linemen, and I'm usually with you there, except for the fact that they signed Lloyd Cushenberry and Austin Corbett, 2 starting caliber interior offensive linemen. There's not really a spot on the offensive line that I think they're very weak at. Maybe you can bring in a swing tackle, but they're already very deep when it comes to young players in the tackle position. But before I let you guys go, going back to that 1st round pick, if both Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion are available at 26, I do expect Buffalo to move back. Now, for the context of this mock draft, I really don't think both of them will be available at pick 26. And now for another possible scenario, both of them are selected before pick 26. Now, this is a prime situation to move back as well. Can't really add a weapon at wide receiver. I don't know if they're looking at Omar Cooper as a serious target for Buffalo. So if Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston aren't there at 26, I would expect them to move back as well. And if they do move back, it would also be very likely they move forward with that 3rd round pick at 91. Maybe moving into the early part of the 3rd round where you can maybe go after a guy like Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. A far better nose tackle than Dominique Orange. At least I think. Not that Dominique Orange isn't good or anything, but I think Lee Hunter possesses more explosivity. Regardless, this is my 2026 Buffalo Bills mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know if any of those picks really stick out to you. And I also hope I was able to paint a good picture of how Buffalo will be going into this draft, what their intentions are, positions they've done a lot of homework on. And if you guys are really moving different, let me know in the comments your 7th-round Buffalo Bills mock draft. I would love to see them. But that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Breaking Tables. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Make sure to smash that like button. I'll see you guys soon. Take care and go Bills.